Have you ever felt like you're just drowning in the news? That it's this relentless, chaotic cycle of outrage that's specifically designed to keep you hooked? Well, what if I told you that chaos isn't an accident at all? It's actually a timeless political strategy. It's a playbook, really, designed to control what we see, what we think, and ultimately, how we feel. So let's pull back the curtain and see how it works. This whole idea, believe it or not, goes way back. I'm talking almost 2,000 years ago to ancient Rome. There was this poet, Juvenal, and he coined a phrase that perfectly captures this whole method of control: bread and circuses. It's the simple, powerful idea that you can keep a population totally pacified with just two things: free food and spectacular entertainment. You know, the Roman emperors were masters at this. They knew that as long as the public had gladiator games to watch and free grain to eat, they probably wouldn't pay too much attention to a crumbling empire or the massive inequality or all the corruption. But look, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. Nope, this is a playbook that has been fine-tuned, perfected, and deployed in our modern world with, frankly, stunning efficiency. All right, so how exactly does this ancient strategy get used today? Well, it all starts with one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, most cynical tactics in modern politics: deliberately manufacturing outrage. And political strategists, they have a name for this tactic. It's pretty graphic. They call it the dead cat strategy. And as shocking as that sounds, it's a metaphor that perfectly illustrates the raw mechanics of political misdirection. The logic behind it is as simple as it is brutal. Imagine you're in a big, important discussion, and everyone's arguing about a failing economy. Things are getting tense. Suddenly, a politician just throws a dead cat on the table. Now what's everyone talking about? The economy? Of course not. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is talking about the dead cat. The original, important conversation, it's over. Hijacked. Instantly. And once you know what to look for, you start seeing this everywhere. Facing tough questions about something like the Epstein files? Quick, accuse a former president of treason. That'll change the headlines. Worried about corruption investigations? No problem. Just get your media empire to blast stories about celebrity fights. Is the economy in the gutter? Easy. Let's start a huge, fiery culture war over immigration or social values. The distraction might look different each time, but the goal is always the same: change the subject. Okay, but sometimes a single shocking event, a single dead cat, isn't quite enough. You need something more sustainable. And that's when you move on to tactic number 2. You create a villain. This lets a leader shift all the blame for their own failures and, at the same time, paint themselves as the hero who's protecting the people from some terrible manufactured threat. And this pattern plays out across the globe. It's almost like they're all reading from the same script. In Italy, you had Silvio Berlusconi constantly painting the judiciary, the men in togas, as he called them, as his personal persecutors, all while deflecting from corruption allegations. Or look at Brazil, where Jair Bolsonaro blamed fake news for his government's disastrous response to the pandemic. In India, critics of the government can be easily branded as anti-nationals to shift focus away from economic struggles. You see the playbook, right? Create a villain, play the victim, and dodge all accountability. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. You know, not all about villains and outrage. The second part of the modern playbook is, well, it's a bit more dazzling. It's all about creating these grand, captivating spectacles that are designed to just blow you away and make you forget about any grim realities. So on one side, you've got the spectacle, the shiny stuff. You get these big patriotic slogans like "Take Back Control." You get these massive, awe-inspiring construction projects like India's Statue of Unity. You even get these bizarre, almost entertaining personal scandals like Berlusconi's infamous Bunga Bunga parties. But on the other side, that's where you find the harsh reality all this stuff is designed to hide. Things like economic stagnation and a strained healthcare system in the UK, or rising unemployment in India, or Italy's national debt just piling higher and higher. And the stakes here can get so much higher. In fact, the ultimate spectacle, the biggest distraction of them all, can be war itself. Yeah, political scientists have a name for this too. They call it diversionary war theory. And the idea is as simple as it is terrifying. If things are going badly at home, you start a conflict abroad to rally everyone around the flag and make them forget their problems. And history is just littered with examples of this. Back in 1982, Argentina's military government was facing total economic collapse and massive protests. So what did they do? They invaded the Falkland Islands, and suddenly it was all about national pride. Or fast forward to 2014, Russia's economy was faltering, so Vladimir Putin annexes Crimea, and wham, his approval ratings shoot through the roof.
It is a crazy high-stakes gamble that leaders just keep turning to time and time again.
Okay, so this brings us to the most crucial question of all, right? When you lay out all these tactics, they seem kind of obvious. So why on earth are they so effective? Why do we keep falling for them? Well, the answer, weirdly enough, is buried deep inside the wiring of our own brains. No, really, think about it for a second. Why does a juicy celebrity feud feel so much more compelling than a dense report on economic policy? The answer isn't just about what the media shows us, it has everything to do with our own psychology. It all comes down to something called the negativity bias. See, for most of human history, our survival depended on being hyper alert to threats. That rustle in the grass could be a lion. That weird-looking berry could be poison. Our brains literally evolved to lock onto negative, threatening information because it kept us alive. But today, that same ancient survival instinct, it's being hacked. It's being exploited to capture our attention. And it's being hacked because we live in an attention economy. Our focus, yours and mine, is a commodity. It's a product to be bought and sold. And in that marketplace, nothing sells better than outrage. It is incredibly profitable. It gets the clicks, it gets the views, and that complex, nuanced, actually important reporting, it just can't compete. This creates this really powerful, kind of scary feedback loop. It starts with, say, a provocative bit on the news. That gets chopped into viral clips and blasted all over social media. The algorithms see all that angry engagement and they push it out to even more people. And then, and this is the wildest part, the mainstream media starts reporting on the online outrage as if that's the news story. Each step fuels the next, and you can spin up a massive crisis out of thin air. So what happens to us when we're trapped in this cycle just getting bombarded 24/7? The result is something called outrage fatigue. Psychologists call it psychic numbing. We become so overwhelmed by the constant barrage of crises that we just get emotionally exhausted. And our brain's defense mechanism kicks in. We just disengage. We become apathetic. It's just too much. So, is it hopeless? Are we all just doomed to be manipulated by this cycle forever? Absolutely not. The way forward, the way we break the cycle, starts with us reclaiming our most valuable, most precious resource, our own attention. And this is exactly why it is so critical. Just look at the sheer volume of coverage that some fleeting scandal gets compared to something truly important, like a major report on climate science. The difference is staggering. And our distraction, it has a real cost. So what is the true cost? Here's the bottom line. When our collective attention is focused on the manufactured outrage, on the glittering spectacle, the real problems, the deep systemic ones, they're just allowed to fester and decay in the shadows, and we often don't even notice until it's far too late. But we can fight back. We really can. It starts with developing better media literacy, learning to recognize when you're being manipulated. It means actively seeking out journalism that gives you context, not just clicks, and trying to practice what some people call slow news. Just pausing for a second, reflecting before you react or share. But honestly, the most powerful tool you have is to learn to ask one critical question. Why this story right now? Because at the end of the day, we have to understand that in a functioning democracy, our collective attention is one of the most valuable resources we possess. It is a battleground. And protecting it isn't just about your own personal well-being. It's about the health of our entire civic life. So I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you see that dead cat get thrown on the table, the next time you see a massive, all-consuming scandal take over every single screen, just take a breath and ask yourself that one simple question. What is this trying to distract me from? The answer? Well, the answer just might change everything.